Hello and again welcome to the issues on IKD 106.1 FM, where we talk about matters that concerns every individual out there. And of course, you're very much aware that Thursdays such as this one, we have special edition. When I talk about a special edition every Thursday, we talk about healthy conversations every Thursday, which is in partnership with General Hospital Ikorodu. So this is us saying very big thank you to General Hospital Ikorodu for always doing well every Thursdays while we have these healthy conversations. Again today, we will be talking about another germane medical conversation when we talk about medication. This is something that is very, very important. You cannot shy away from the fact that in a way or the other, someday, somehow, you would need medications. But many a times, it's a pity to know that a lot of persons have decided to go over the counter for drugs, forgetting the abuse of these drugs, forgetting about the misuse of these drugs. And when we talk about medicine sold directly to a customer without a proper requirement for prescription from a healthcare professionals, that is what we can call the over-the-counter drugs. We will talk about this today at length because, of course, we have a pharmacist in the studio. This is not just a pharmacist. She's a woman who is well-grounded. She knows her onion so well when you talk about medications. She has been in the line of duty for a very long time. For years now, she has been practicing. She will put us through this conversation, helping the general public to be aware when we talk about over-the-counter drugs. I am Okoyemi Adebambo, your host for today on The Issues, and my guest is no other than pharmacist Ogudu, who will be talking to us today. We go on this very, very short breather. When we return from this break, The Issues will begin proper. Good morning, Lagos. Good morning, Nigeria. Over-the-counter drugs, which will be our focus for today. So if you're out there, you are listening to us, this conversation has a lot to do with you because a lot of us practices these things and we take into cognizance the misuse. We take into cognizance the abuse of all these things, but not everybody does that. And that is why we have a pharmacist who would help us, even recognize these things more. Again, I say welcome. I am Okoyemi, and this time I will be saying thank you very much to pharmacist Ogudu for joining us in the studio. Good morning and thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Okwe, and good morning, our audience. It's a privilege to be talking to you on OTC medications.
Yes.
Over-the-counter medicines. How are they called over-the-counter? It's because you can actually get them from supermarkets, pharmacies, chemists, without a doctor's prescription. Why did the health people allow such? Because it's believed that if you know proper self-care, you should be able to get these OTCs without much hassles.
Yes.
Like something like your paracetamols, something like your ibuprofens, all those ones, you can get them. However, do they really pose problem? They were not meant to pose problems before.
Originally.
Yes. But because of our habitual use, the way we use these things now results in problems. But remember, every medication has potential to cause harm.
Every medication has potentials to cause harm.
Yes. And that's why proper use must be observed and emphasized. Each medicine has a way you should take it. At the right quantity, the right time interval, the right dose form, whether liquid or solid form, whether you should swallow or crush it. All these things are factored into the medicine's build.
Okay.
And when you don't follow these rules, they're bound to cause problems. So patients who frequently purchase OTC medicines,
yes,
instead of visiting the hospital or for proper consultation, are at a very high risk of experiencing adverse effects.
Thank you.
And
sorry to interject you there. We will be taking it one after the other,
all right,
so that our listeners out there would have a clear understanding. I like the fact that you have been able to do well to help us understand when we say OTC. You have been able to explain that that means over-the-counter drugs that are being bought without a medical doctor's prescription. this is something a lot of people do. A lot of people out there, they do these things without even knowing that there are effects, negative effects to these things. Before we talk about the misuse, before we talk about the abuse, before we talk about the effect, let us start with a part where there are some persons that will be out there. When you ask them, why are you giving yourself this self-medication? Why do you just go to the counter and buy drugs yourself? They will tell you something like, this is what I always use that works for me. You being a pharmacist, what can you say to such people before we even delve into the conversation proper?
Now, there is something that is very risky.
Okay.
You've used it and it works for you.
Mm.
You can get temporary relief, but at the end of the day, the temporary relief is masking an underlying complications, health complications that you may not even know.
Mm.
So, you use this, it works for you, but then you need to see a doctor. You use it today, it worked. Tomorrow you use it again. That means you're living on it.
True.
So you've become enslaved to it.
Mm.
When we talk of abuse,
Yes.
that means the drug has taken possession of you. You're no longer yourself. You now depend on it. But I'm not going to mix it up because there is always a difference, a thin line between abuse and misuse.
And misuse, definitely.
You can only abuse drugs or substances that have abuse potentials, meaning this type of substances interact or has a way of touching the brain reward center. So it's not the brain reward center that asks you to go for more. And when it cannot do that, so we will not classify it as a drug or a substance of abuse. Yes. So I use it, it worked for me.
Yes.
Okay. Then you continue to use it temporarily. Our bodies are built to repair themselves most times. Yes. But when you have used something and it worked, and you have to repeat it, then know something is wrong somewhere. You should seek the professional counsel. I remember those days when they used to give us an advert.
Yes,
if
symptoms persist after 2 days,
you should go and see your doctor.
True.
But today we don't see doctors because we are not the doctors. The nurses, the pharmacists, the lab technicians. In fact, we are everything.
By ourselves.
Yes, we use it and it works for us.
This will bring me to my next question, Pharmacist Ogudu. What would your own advice be as a trained pharmacist that you are? What would your advice be as regards the fact that some persons will just decide by themselves right now, just like I said the first time, in the case of people that will say that, for me, I know what is wrong with me. So I do not need the doctor to tell me that this is the drug I need. If I do it this way, I am fine. You have sorted that part and you have made it clear that you should always see your doctor for prescription. The next set of people that I want you to address or talk to are those that would then decide that because these drugs works for me, it might work for my husband, it might work for my relative, it might work for people around me. What do you have to say to people like that? It works for me, definitely to work for you too.
That is a very dangerous word. And many people are practicing it. Take for instance, somebody has a psychiatric problem. I'm just giving this as an instance.
Okay.
And then the person is having problems sleeping, is agitated, and then comes to the hospital. The doctor prescribes what we call chlorpromazine, Lagatel.
Yes.
And the person takes 1 tablet or 2 tablets and sleep off. And then the husband or the wife now said, that day my husband was not able to sleep. He took this medicine and slept. And then he takes and goes off. I'm bringing this because I've experienced it firsthand when I was serving in that hospital. A woman was given a Lagatel injection. So she was agitated. She obviously had a psychiatric problem. Then another person came. Out of her own pain, it wasn't a psychiatric case.
A different case entirely.
A very different case entirely. It was actually a health personnel. Yes, it was an attendant that said, that day the doctor gave this. It was a copper doctor. As I was a copper pharmacist. And the nurse bought into it. and they gave that woman that is 100 milligram. You won't believe, 100 milligram of Lagatel. That woman slept for 6 days and packed up.
She slept for 6 days?
And packed up and died.
That's bad.
So you see, that it works for your husband and you want to try it. It's usually very, very dangerous. I, for one, I love something sweet. When I was a younger person, I went to my mom's bag, saw what we call today ferrous. You know, that was antenatal drugs. I love to lick the coating. I'll just finish to lick the coating. It was very sweet, and I threw away the medicines.
Yes.
Every day my mom would complain. It's just the size of the quantity of medicine I was given. I will not say anything. Until this particular day, I knew I had to take more. You know, I needed, my craving for sweet was very high. I packed so many and I started leaking. I started vomiting. Seriously. Oh, it became so difficult. My grandmother said, I think she has swallowed poison. Then I said, no, it was not poison. It was the medicine in my mom's bag. So you see, it worked for my mom. My mom was taking it the way she was asked to take. Now I've taken it the wrong way because I was craving the coating, the sugary coat on that. You see the result. That was on the minor side, on the minor side. So many a times when we take medicines that work for others for ourselves, you don't even know the factors that are considered before that medicine is prescribed that person. And then you say, oh, since it worked for him, it worked for me. So my advice is stop that. Medicines are to be personalized. Yes. One for you, one for me.
Thank you so very much for that clarification. It is still the issues on IKD 106.1 FM. Now, this conversation is about to get to its peak. It's about to get to its zenith while we talk about OTC, over-the-counter drugs. There are two sides to this conversation, the misuse as well as abuse. They might sound almost the same, but they are not the same. So now we want to talk about the abuse. When people hear abuse of drugs, the first thing that caught our mind is that, oh, hard drugs. Some persons do not even know that it does not have to be hard drugs. If you abuse drugs, even the normal painkillers, it becomes an abuse. It doesn't have to be hard drugs. So let us start with the abuse first, Pharmacist Ogudu. When we talk about abuse of drugs, how best can you help us understand that as a pharmacist that you are?
All right. Drugs are made to achieve a specific goal in our lives. The same way individuals are built with their individual uniqueness. And when abuse sets in, we are using, remember the word use.
Yes.
We are now using that individual or using that person for personal gratification. So, assuming when you are abusing a child, it's making you feel good.
Yes.
That is it.
Yes.
The same way, when you are abusing medicines, it's making you feel good. Either you're feeling high, you just feel like, oh, I'm the new president, something like that. So that's it. And like I said, when we abuse substances or drugs, for a drug to be abused or a substance to be abused, it must have what we call abuse potential.
Abuse potential.
Meaning, it has effect on the brain reward center. Take for instance, when you eat food and the food, you love the food, your body will tell you, oh, I love more.
This. Yes.
When you had sex and your body will like, oh, this is good, you want to have more because it's touching that part of the brain. The same thing happens with all these drugs. Yes. When you take them, they get straight to the brain reward center, and the brain body will be like, oh, this is good, give me more. And that will now lead us to tolerance, where we have to take more and still get the same effect. Okay, then dependence, when we have to take because if we don't, we feel as if we are going to die. So the body now depends on it, and it becomes so difficult to come out of that abuse. Misuse, on the other hand,
yes,
when you are normally an adult dose of paracetamol is just 1 gram, that is 2 or 500 milligrams each.
Yes.
But some people will never take 2. They say, I have to take 6 before it
so it will
works
work
for
well.
me. Now you are misusing it.
Mm.
And the half-life is about 8 hours. And that's why we take it 3 times a day, every 8 hours. But people will like, I'm just taking now. In 1 hour time, I want to take more. You are misusing it. That is not the way to use the medicine. The same thing, somebody just came back from the hospital with some leftover medicine. Say, the same thing they use for you there is happening. The condition is almost the same like what I'm experiencing.
Let me use it too.
You are misusing it. It's not meant to be that way.
Thank you for that clarification, helping us understand the difference between misuse of these drugs and then abusing the drug. We'll still go down to over-the-counter drugs, but let us come from this angle of how dangerous is it when you talk about misuse or abuse. With all of these things that you have said, we have some people that are still adamant that will just feel like, I've been doing it for years. This one that pharmacist Ogudu is saying on radio, we have heard it before. So far, I am fine. I did not die. And moreover, the headache is gone. Moreover, the body pains are gone. Pharmacist, can you tell us how dangerous is it when one misuses drugs or abuse drugs? Some people don't even know it's dangerous, to misuse drugs or abuse them. How dangerous is it to misuse or abuse drugs?
Every other danger until we die. We'll keep doing what we are doing. But it's very, very dangerous. Whether you abuse or misuse drugs, let's look at this point, addiction. Addiction. When you get addicted to something, you become a slave to that. On the social media trending this week was a young man. They say he drank Colos, he took Colos, and he killed his son. The young boy was lying on the ground. The father was lying on the ground. When he got up, he didn't even know himself because he's got addicted to this. He didn't know what he was doing. So addiction is very, very dangerous because it strips you of your personality. You are no longer yourself. It could lead to organ damage. Organ damage. Your kidneys, your livers that help you to metabolize and also to remove toxins from your system, they can be impacted negatively. At a long run, you have these organs damaged, malfunctioning. And then some of us can get what we call kidney stones, liver cirrhosis. And these are very, very dangerous chronic diseases that can arise as a result of overdose or misuse or abuse of medications. Mental health disorders. Brilliant. Anxiety. Panic. You can start panicking. Imagine you are taking medicine and you are feeling as if you are not getting enough, and the effect is no longer consistent. You begin to panic. There's something we call panic disorder. So we also have cognitive impairment as a result of taking all these medicines you buy on the street. So you have those problems. Depression. You can also get depressed and begin to think of how to kill yourself, suicidal tendencies, as a result of misuse and abuse of medicines. Like I said previously, masking of underlying serious health conditions. Because you got a temporary relief. You say, okay, I'm fine. There's no need to go and see a doctor. The headache has gone. Tomorrow the headache appears again. You go and buy paracetamol or ibuprofen. Yet, the headache itself is a manifestation of an underlying condition and you are suppressing it until it has blown up and become uncontrollable. So, what are we going to make out of all these things? Like I said, until a Nigerian dies before he or she says something dangerous. But when your organs are dead, you are dying. When you are no longer normal, you are possessed by medicines. You are no longer a human now. You are depressed, you are thinking of dying or killing others. Something is wrong. And we need as many sane people as possible now in Nigeria in order to move forward. So, inherently, there is a heavy danger of misusing as well as abusing over-the-counter medicines.
Thank you very much, Pharmacist Ogudu. The phone lines will be made available if you have questions to ask. Don't forget that today we are talking about medications, and that is why we have a pharmacist in the studio here. Medications could be misused, it could be abused. There are dangers, just like you have heard. It could be as bad as a psychological situation, mental disorder, depression, and the likes. Some of you will wonder, oh, just because I misuse drugs or abuse drugs, can it get to that point? Yes. You already heard it from the pharmacist. It could be that bad. Another set of people that I want us to talk about, or that I would like for you to share some illumination on the attitude of medication, are those that tends to, you know, stop by the roadside. Now, when I say stop by the roadside, I mean those that would, you're given a medication, and then you're told to use this medication for 3 days, you know, morning and night for 3 days. On the second day, they already feel good. They are back on their feet again, and they're like, work misses me already. I have to go back to work. Is there any effect with the fact that people don't finish their medications and they feel they are already better? If you feel better and you still have medication, should you even continue using it? I think that should be the question, pharmacist.
Yes.
I don't know if that comes clear.
Yes. When you're giving medicines,
yes,
like I said earlier on, the right medicine must be taken for the right condition. Must be taken at the right dose. The quantity must be right. And the duration must equally be right. If your prescriber, the physician or your pharmacist or whoever is taking care of you says, this must be taken for 5 days, follow through. Many a times in the hospitals, when we give you medicines, they will give you an appointment. Sometimes you must still be taking that your medicine. By the time you come back, the physician reviews you and decide, okay, you don't need those medicines anymore. I need to change this. Or they will say, okay, buy more, continue. But when you just stop, that is very, very wrong. And we see that a lot, the impact a lot in the misuse of antibiotics. When you don't take the antibiotics for the number of the period,
yes, the
that you've been asked to take it, some of the bacteria that are not eradicated by the little quantity you have taken, they will grow resistance. They'll develop resistance to that particular medicine
because they've had it before,
and it will never work again. Never. Do you understand? That's why we have this issue of the antibiotics resistance. And we keep hammering it here in Nigeria. We do not produce. Do not get to that point of bacteria developing resistance in your body. Because how do we take care of you? And when you stop halfway, the condition is not properly treated. And that is a big problem. You might end up starting afresh again with a higher, more potent medicine, which may be also more expensive than the one that they started you on.
Thank you so very much, Pharmacist Ogudu. We are gradually getting there, and we have to say a very big thank you for helping us understand most of these things. So, for those of you that will use drugs halfway, use for 3 days, you use 2 days, and you feel you are fine. No, that is not right. Always ensure you finish up your doses. My next question now will be, when we talk about the original conversation for today, over-the-counter drugs. People will just decide by themselves to go to any of these pharmaceutical shops, supermarket like you have said, and some other stores where they can find drugs, and without prescriptions they buy these drugs. But now, Pharmacist Ogudu, you are a pharmacist. These are things that when you go to a pharmacist and you tell the person, oh, I have headache, they are the same person that will tell you, oh, use this one and use that one. The prescription is not coming from a doctor, it's only coming from that person in that store who has given you those drugs to take at that time. Now, can you help us understand, where is the fault coming from? Is this the fault of somebody who has walked down to the store to buy the drugs, or the fault of the other person who has said, use this drug, rather than to say, go and give me a doctor's prescription?
All right. Let's say nobody is at fault here.
Okay.
The person walked up to the pharmacy.
Yes.
I have headache.
Mm.
There are drugs the pharmacists have there that doesn't need a doctor's prescription.
True.
The pharmacist is not just trained to touch drugs and see drugs.
Mm.
He or she is also trained to understand some health conditions. Like, okay, you don't need this one.
Mm.
Can you take paracetamol? Let's see if it clears the headache.
Mm.
But please go and see your doctor. Okay? Then someone else now say, let me tell you.
Okay.
From the point of pharmacist,
Mm.
they won't give you prescription medicines there until you have seen your doctor and have come with one.
Mm.
But most times, it's the client, the patient that say, hey, you give me yellow and red capsule. Yellow and red
They even dictate what they want themselves.
you give me Bicham and Piclos.
Mm.
You give me that 7C.
Mm.
Then put Fisi. You know they ask for Fisi in pharmacy. You put Fisi. What is the Fisi? Which Fisi? Put vitamin C.
Mm.
Okay?
Mm.
So, he doesn't know. And when a prescription only medicines comes to you as a trained pharmacist, you are not to dispense it until you have seen a physician writing, because that this person has seen a physician. In the hospitals, sometimes people come with 2 months prescription. They say, my doctor said I should continue taking. We will insist. You're already in the hospital. Can you quickly go to the doctor to see whether you should continue? So, like I said, nobody's at fault and everybody's also at fault.
Thank you very much for that one. We'll go down to the phone lines 0904 081 1061 or 0904 082 1061. Good morning, Mr. Larry.
Mr. Larry from Nikorodu.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, serious. I like that your last question when you said most of these places where we buy drugs, which is one of them. We believe as a layman that they are pharmacists. And most times we approach them, knowing fully well that most times, like I said, as a layman, we will approach them that I'm having headache, I'm having slight malaria, and I'm having one kind of body pain. They will be like, okay, I have a malaria drug, use this and use this paracetamol joint. But my issue now is, man, I don't know, I might be right and I might be wrong. If I approach a general hospital and I'm having a severe headache right now, I believe that the process there is going to take me like for 30 minutes or more than 30 minutes. If I approach the hospital, and they will say, go and get cards, to queue, you will join the normal protocol. All these things are taking time. For somebody that is like, the headache is, you know, when you have a strong headache, the headache,
a pounding headache.
And it's hammering your head like constantly. Now, the person is in that kind of pain, and at the hospital, go and get card. Go and get card at outpatient department. You still come back and queue for that headache. You stay like 30 minutes for a headache that is pounding. I think that's what most times sends most people that are in a severe pain. I'm not saying we are right, though. I'm not saying we are right for this. So I just see that if you do not position that, I can easily go to a pharmacy and tell them that I'm having a strong headache. They can even give me one, 2 drugs that have extra. I don't want to mention it. They will give you that one, and they will give you another one, and they'll be like, go and do this to get rid of it. I think this, I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to general. There should be a tackle it as emergency, not as an outpatient. But I don't know, but
I think yes, I understand you. Yes.
Their own mind to just give you something, go and use it. But you are showing, or you are lighting up our mindset, and I like all what we've been saying so far. Take it away, bro.
Thank you very much, Mr. Larry. You know, the summary of what Mr. Larry there is saying that sometimes maybe people just go for these drugs that do not come with prescription because of the protocols that comes with a hospital. And then he give an example of a chronic headache where you just need an attention, just like we have the emergency unit. Why don't we have a unit where you can just quickly prescribe drugs? But before you answer that question, let's take another call so we combine together. Hello to you. Good morning. Thank you for calling. Good morning. Thank you. Thank you. Very well. And you? Talk to us.
Our sister, our doctor, about the hospital matter. Some people, not be all nurse, not be all deaf, not be all no work. Some people don't know how to deal with them. Some people to test somebody, not everybody. Now before I go to hospital, if I go there, they will give me a key. Now I go for the now go on card. I'll buy some time. They will give me some hospital don't establish. They don't know their work. They're playing for Lagos. They're playing for Lagos. Then what's supposed to do? What's supposed to do? We're going to go around any other who don't play to qualify. Let them not come there for one hand. But before they are operating, it's not the way. Not the hospital no work. So if you're going to go to any private hospital, I'll go to government hospital, that general. I'll go there, complete them, and everything. So what did they do me? I will get them. So, private, not the only they no work. Some people don't let go no work for big hospitals. They don't never build them. They go establish a hospital. If there's a doctor, there's a gym. That's why it's better to do nothing more. You're not supposed to be doctor. So that is it. But we all no work. Somebody's supposed to work for body. And go around and get and tell them. And don't go in there. Maybe no one or not. We know. You're supposed to go around.
All right. All right. All right. Thank you very much, sir. I think the two questions are a bit similar. The first caller is saying that just like we have an emergency unit, why don't we have a unit that will quickly attend to matters that comes with medications? He, at the other end, is trying to make comparisons within the government-owned hospitals and private. I do not want us to go towards that direction. But what is your take as regards these two callers' contribution?
All right, sir. Thank you for your questions. You see, there's what we call self-care. And like I was explaining from the beginning, why these drugs were moved, they were formerly prescription-only medicines.
Yes.
Meaning you cannot even get them over the counter. But in order to help you, to have the initial relief, that's why they have made it free. You can pick it up there. Now you have picked it up. You have a pounding headache.
True.
And you get to the pharmacy or a chemist. And then you purchase paracetamol, took 2 tablets. And the headache refused to go after like 8 hours. You want to go about an hour. Quickly go to hospitals. We don't have this culture of a comprehensive health care. We need to do that every year so that we know when we're having issues. Assuming that your headache is emanating from a high BP, and you just
which
take
you are not even
paracetamol,
aware
which you are not aware of. The chemist is not going to say, sit down, let me measure.
Let me check your blood pressure.
Take your blood pressure. Although some pharmacies, they can just say, sit down, let us do that.
Which is very rare.
Yes. And those ones that do that, once they find out, they say, quickly go back to the hospital, go and see your doctor. Because there will be other tests to do before they know the right antihypertensive to give you. Who does not know who does not know his or her job? He's not employed in General Hospital Ikorodu. Those people don't dare there. So when we come to General Hospital, there's what we call triaging. The nurses know how to find those who are very, very critical at that point. They quickly take them to see the doctor so that they will not die on us. Do you understand? So, do we do that? Now, I want to ask you, because you will come to a general hospital and they will make you to go and get a card, take your BP, ask you to run a test and do this and do this. So instead of me to do that one for a whole day, let me just go and buy the one that will kill me by the roadside. Is that better? Is that better? We make that sacrifice because in the process, they are able to find something you don't even know. Sometimes you are not doing well as a result of a particular food you crave or you eat. It's in that process that they are able to know. Our doctors are trained all around to know whether your drug is causing you problem or your food is causing you problem or your environment, noise can make you agitated. So they'll be able to find out. Please, once you take that your paracetamol and it did not work, the headache has not subsided, please go for comprehensive health check. Come to General Hospital. We will do that for you. Just tell us you want to know if your bodies are working. We will run all the tests at a very minimum cost.
Thank you very much, Pharmacist Ogudu. We're enjoying the conversation here, and I hope that those of you listening out there, you are also enjoying and learning. It's an educative one, and you should know that you don't just prescribe drugs for yourself. You don't just go over the counter and say, give me a drug. You need to get a prescription from a medical practitioner. That is the essence of this conversation. Pharmacist Ogudu, we want to thank you so very much for your time. But before we leave, we have just 10 minutes more. I want us to switch this conversation to another dimension. Now, let's talk about the government. You have buoyantly talked about the fact that General Hospital Ikorodu have trained hands from the nurses to the doctors to the pharmacists and every other department, which I can also attest to that there are no amateurs within the scope of General Hospital. For you as a pharmacist, this is a campaign we are here talking about. We are having a campaign of people not going to the counter to get drugs for themselves. We are helping people to understand that it's important you get a medical prescription before you get the drugs. That's the essence of this conversation. Yes. Do you think the government is also doing well enough in propagating this gospel? Now, I would ask this question from another dimension. While we were growing up, we know that when we go to the hospitals, general hospitals for instance, and a doctor prescribes medicines for you, we go down to the pharmacist, they give us almost all of the drugs, left with maybe one in some cases where you have to buy outside. But now the story is no longer same, where they prescribe 5 drugs for you and you go to the pharmacist, they give you only one and ask you to go and buy the rest outside. That is why I'm asking the question. Do you think the government is also doing well enough to help people not go to this over the counter and get drugs without prescription? Because some people would think that if I go to the hospital, they don't even have the drugs there. So rather than go there, why don't I go directly to the pharmacist outside?
Over the counter we're talking about are being manned and owned by pharmacists. They are trained. But there are some medicines they're not supposed to give you without a doctor's prescriptions. And there are some they can give you. They are actually there to counsel you on health and also to make merchandise too. But not undue merchandise.
True.
Now let's come to the government.
Yes.
Our government is trying, especially Lagos State government. You know, have you enrolled with Ilera Eko?
Yes, of course, definitely.
And that's where they give you your medicines free. Yeah, the ones they don't have to give you. There are so many people asking for them. And remember, the major issue we have in this country is our inability to produce our own medicines. We still depend on foreigners to supply most of it. And the with population explosion at every country's hand, everybody is like, let me protect my own person.
True.
Do you understand? So from Asia, from Europe, where we get all those medicines, we are getting short supplies. And with the economic downturn and our naira this dwindling, it's kind of making it difficult for us to purchase more as we used to purchase before. And that's why we are on this campaign that when we take medicines, we should take them properly, accurately, to avoid problems. You don't need a paracetamol and ibuprofen before your headache will go. One should be able to take care of it if we eat properly. So our government is trying, and we too should also try by doing the right things. You know, the ones we get, safeguard them, take them properly.
I like the fact that you have said the government is trying, and it's also a way for everyone out there to be aware of Ilera Eco. With a very reasonable subscription, you can subscribe to any of the packages. It is something I can tell you will benefit every Lagosian and resident here in Lagos. And then you also reminded me when you talk about a shortage of medications coming down from the developed nations. I know you are aware that recently our sources for medications for HIV/AIDS has been cut short, and this has actually placed Nigeria on a hyper state at the moment, where some persons are already looking out for ways for that. So you are very well spotted on that. Before you leave, Pharmacist Ogudu, I don't want you to leave actually, but then our time would chase us out of the studio. The next 5 minutes before you give your professional advice to people generally on your take on why we should not just do self-medications, let us talk about expiration of drugs, right? Some people don't take this into cognizance too. You know, this is somebody who has bought a painkiller, a pain relief last year, and he or she used 4 out of it. He's still left with 6. This person does not even bother to check the expiration, but it worked for me, and I still have it at home. You as a pharmacist, what can you say to us being very conscious with medications expiration? Some people even tell you that drugs don't expire. It's still the same drug, or it will not expire. You can still use it. Is this a fallacy, or it's a right thing to say?
Yeah, back then in the pharmacy schools, even now as we practice, expiration is very, very important. You must tell us when it will no longer be potent. Nothing lasts forever.
Nothing lasts forever.
Nothing lasts forever. The thing is losing its potency faster than it would have if it is properly stored. So it might not even reach that June. The expiration would have happened, and you just be taking a chaff, an active substance. So when a drug has expired, please, number one thing you must know is that the company that makes that drug is no longer liable. When a company says my medicine expires 22nd of February 2025, anything, if you take it 23rd, anything happens, the company is not liable again.
Wow.
Yes. So that's it. But you know, sometimes scientists have tried to take some of these expired medicines to the lab. Some they'll come back to say, oh, the potency has just reduced, but not up to half. But please, once it has expired, throw it away. Don't throw it away, just bring it to us. We'll have a proper way of disposing it. You don't just throw drugs away. Yes, to protect our environment.
Thank you very much for that one. You know, while you're talking, I then remembered again when you talk about the use of drugs. I know some people that when they want to use some drugs, some will say, I prefer chewing my drugs. It works faster. Some will say, I want to swallow it direct. Some will even tell you, I want to put it inside swallow. I know some people that will just open in between of their eba or fufu, insert the drugs. I know of somebody that would use paper to take her drugs. She would not take it with her bare hands. There are different methods that we people take drugs. And it reminded me of when you started this conversation earlier, when you said there are some drugs that is meant for chewing. There are some that you know, melt down. So for you, how do we know the best way to take a particular drug? Is it by us chewing it, or folding it into a paper and throwing it into our mouth, or putting it inside swallow? How do we know these things?
It depends.
Oh, okay.
That's the job of the pharmacist at the point of handing you the drugs. He or she will tell you, swallow whole with water, or swallow whole with juice. Or this one, you might say, no. When it is swallow whole, you can put inside the bar. When it says do not crush, don't crush. There are drugs that are scored. That is, you can break along the score line. Yes. Some they'll say do not break. All right. So that brings us to what they normally do. They do in a general hospital. We call it compounding. Yes. In case you can't break, or you need to reduce the dose and give that person, you just bring it to pharmacy. They compound and give you the right dose. So at the point of handing you your medicines, you'll be counseled on how to use it. Whether you are to swallow, whether you are to insert, whether you are to chew, okay,
or even melt.
How it works faster.
So it is the job of a pharmacist. So don't just say you like to chew drugs, you like to swallow, or whichever way it is. Thank you so very much, Pharmacist Ogudu. In your parting words, what would your advice be generally to the general public? Your take on all of our conversations, your summary as a medical practitioner that you are.
Yeah. I really want to say a big thank you to General Hospital and also to IKD for putting up this together for us to educate ourselves. A lot of misuse and abuse of medicines have been ongoing. A lot of people are harmed. Many we could see, many we can't even see. When we see people going mad as a result of taking hard medicines, we could see those ones. But what of people whose organs are being damaged, whose organs are deteriorating by the days, and we cannot see those ones? Let us follow proper advice and counsel. You can pick your drugs in a pharmacy. For instance, not every medicine is prescribed that we have in a pharmacy in General Hospital, but there are pharmacies all over where you can go and get this. And when you are not sure of how to use your medicines, you can go back. Please explain to me. Many a times, the way we label medicine, some people label medicine, you get confused. Insist, explain to me.
Well,
what is this? Is it 11 or 1-1? Okay, so that you know what you are taking. And like this anti-malaria, some people say, hey, you take one in the morning, you take one in the night, but that's not the way. You take one, the first dose you take, you wait for 8 hours. At the expiration of the 80th hour, you should take another one with heavy or fatty meal. That's how it works best. And after that, you can take the rest 12 hourly. But if you just say, the other time I took it, one in the morning, one in the night. You know, it doesn't work that way. I'm supposed to take this medicine 3 times a day, but I forgot to take it in the afternoon. Let me take double dose. You don't take double dose, oh. Please, we are always there. Lagos State have about 26 general hospitals scattered around. And aside that, we have more than 300 primary healthcare centers. You can walk into any of them, ask to see a pharmacist, or ask to see the medical doctor. They will serve you well. We are all there to serve one another. To serve you. That's why the government is paying us.
Thank you so very much, Pharmacist Ogudu. I must say you're an amazing personality, and we have learned from this. Don't forget, the conversation today was all about OTC, misuse and abuse, talking about over-the-counter drugs. And the essence for this campaign awareness is that you stop the habit of prescribing drugs for yourself. You stop the habit of getting drugs that you think works for you. Make sure you get a medical report before you get these drugs. Until next week, Thursday, with another personality from General Hospital Ikorodu, I am Opeyemi Adebambo. I hope, Pharmacist Ogudu, I hope you brought drugs for me. Because I saw your bag, I saw how big it is, so I'm wondering maybe the antibiotics.
It's just my food.
Oh.
I don't carry drugs, I carry food, so you can get
It was an amazing time with you in the studio. Thank you so very much. God bless Nigeria, God bless Lagos, God bless General Hospital Ikorodu. It's a bye for now.